How's it going, everybody? I've gotten a number of comments about the previous video that I posted when I put this guy together in high speed. A lot of people wanted to see it in real time and have me kind of describe what I was going through at every step of the way. I've decided I'm going to use these buttons in another project that I'm working on, a little miniature Neo Geo cabinet. So I thought, hey, let's gut this thing and let's go through it from the start. So the first thing I want to talk about is tools. Also, this is going to be a completely unedited video, so you're in for the long haul. Feel free to skip ahead if you like. It's probably going to be kind of boring through some, but let's talk about tools. First and foremost, we're going to use some cable. This is just normal cable that I pulled out of an Ethernet cable. Ethernet cables are great because they've got 8 wires in double strands, so you get some nice twisted cable. This is being thrown out of my office, so got a bunch of that for free. This thing's a wire stripper. You don't need one of these. This is a professional wire stripper by a company called, I think it was Nico, maybe. I got off Amazon Canada for about 25 bucks. One of the best investments I've ever made as far as wire strippers go. You can do it with an X-Acto knife and a pair of pliers or a pair of, what are they called? Normal crimpers, but this thing is a lot better, so use that. This time, instead of using butt end connectors, I'm going to use heat shrink to do some of the connections. So heat shrink tubing, again, this is off Amazon, I think it was about 12 bucks. A little lighter to use for the heat shrinking. X-Acto knife, picked this up at the dollar store. Don't even know if I'll need this, but we're going to have it just in case. Needle nose pliers and just a little pair of cutters. These are again from the dollar store. It was, I think, 3 bucks for the pair. I definitely have better ones of each of these, but for little projects like this, I've got no problem using the $3 ones, because if I wreck them, yeah, it's only $1.50 or 3 bucks out the window. An octagonal restrictor gate. Right now this guy's got a square restrictor gate in it, and I really don't like it. I know a lot of people do like it for fighting games. I don't actually use this for fighting games. I either have this hooked up to my computer playing like MAME games or old SNES games, or the odd time I connect it to my PS4 I'm playing something like Metal Slug or otherwise. So an octagonal restrictor gate. This is one from Sanwa. You can definitely get non-Sanwa ones, but hey, when in Rome. FocusAttack stickers. Most of the parts that I get are from a company called FocusAttack. If you're into anything fighting game related, I'm sure you've heard of them. Great customer service from the place. Definitely not a plug on their behalf, but just really cool people, and I always try and throw a sticker on when I can. What else we got here? Yes, connectors. So most buttons come in 2 flavors. You've got your .110 connectors, and that's for your normal Sanwa type buttons. And you've got .187s, and that's more for your HAP style connectors. So this is what we're going to be using for this project. I bought, I think it was 100 pack of these off eBay for about 10 bucks Canadian. These actually aren't my favorite in the world. They aren't fully insulated. Let's actually take one of these out so you can see it. Yeah, so these are called .110 quick disconnects. This is a kind of quasi-insulated one where it's insulated on the bottom. I've actually reordered a pack of these that are fully insulated. I may actually tear the stick apart and do it again with the fully insulated ones, but for today these are going to be just fine. That's what I've got inside of the stick already. I've had no problems with it whatsoever, so I don't think it's anything to be overly concerned about. Tool set. This is my iFixit tool set. One of my buddies at work picked this up for me. Really, really great gift. It's got pretty much every screwdriver bit you could possibly imagine. It's also very, very high quality. So shout out to my buddy who picked it up for me. And if we need a screwdriver for anything, I will be going for this. What else we got? This is just a cheap little headband light. It does red, white, and then a few different power levels. Don't think I'll have to use it for this, but it's really handy if you need to be using both your hands on something. You can just strap it onto your head and you have light. I do have a soldering kit, but again, we're going to do this as a quote-unquote no solder method, so we won't be using that. And last but not least, we've got got some buttons, and we've got actually another octagonal restrictor gate. So I picked up black and green because I didn't know what color I wanted to do this guy. Again, I know I've got 2 greens on here right now, but these buttons are going to be used for different projects. So I'm either going to go all green or all black. I actually haven't decided yet. That'll be a game time decision. And this is just a normal Sanwa JLF without a plate on it. Again, this is actually going to be used in a different video for a different project that I've got. I've already got a Sanwa stick in here. This is not the stock stick. And as you can see, I've added a bat top instead of a ball top onto it. This is the Sanwa silent stick, the one that has the silent microswitches. Absolutely my preferred type of joystick for anything I'm going to be doing a lot of play on. I'm not a huge fan of the click. It drives me a little insane, so I spent a little bit extra money and I got a nice silent one. I will show you guys how to take an old stick out, because the factory stick was very, very easy to get out. We'll just kind of skip by that part. Anything else I've got here? Pair of vice grips. I definitely won't need these, but these are my Husky vice grips. Self-adjusting, great vice grips. Don't think I'll need them though. And a can of Coca-Cola, because it's going to be a long one. Alright, so I'm just going to get ready and we'll be at it. Alright, so let's dig in. First thing I'm going to do is clear off my work area. And I'm shooting all of this off of my iPhone, so I apologize if there are any buzzes that come up. Alright, the other thing I did was I added just a little cable tie for this from Monoprice. It's a very, very long cable, and there's no disconnect part of it, so it's handy to have a little tie for it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is flip this guy over. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws that hold the bottom on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7th one is under the sticker here. Now, I'm assuming this voids the warranty, but hey, it's a fight stick. Worst comes to worst, we can try and fix it. Alright, so we actually will need some screwdrivers. Memory serves, these are just normal Phillips. Now, an important thing about screws, you don't want to just jam any screwdriver into the hole for the screw. You want to try and get the one that's actually meant for the screw. I'm already remembering a problem that I had with this. These screws are fairly far down in there, so I'm just going to take a second. I'm going to go get a proper longer screwdriver. Be right back. Okay, we're back and we have 2 screwdrivers. These are just, what are these, Mastercraft? Yeah, Mastercraft screwdrivers. One thing I was thinking about when I went to get those, a lot of people ask me if it's worth picking up a good screwdriver set. If you're going to be doing any sort of tinkering with electronic projects, the answer is absolutely. A good screwdriver set will save you a ton of hassle while you're working on things. That iFixit kit was about 90 bucks. When I'm working on stuff, I am constantly using it. It was definitely worth picking up. Again, I got mine as a gift. Fun screws. Alright, there's one. I'm assuming because I'm filming this live, everything is going to go wrong. Like screws not wanting to come out. There's 2. Now you should never have to fight with the screw. It should never be skipping, or you should hear it stripping in there. It should always be very easy. If you're having it skip around too much, you're probably using the wrong size screwdriver. These Mastercraft screwdrivers I think I got them about 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. I've never had a problem with them. I think I got the entire set for 20 bucks on sale. You can definitely pick up one of those little packs of screwdrivers at the dollar store for, you know, $3, but When it comes to screwdrivers, you're going to get out on what you put into it monetary-wise. Oops. I may have lost a screw. Possibly. Who knows? What do we got? 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Top left is a mystery. Oh, hey, look at that. 7 went shooting to the ground. Okay, 7 screws. Now, if memory serves, this guy just lifts right up. Yeah, there we go. Now, here's another pro tip. Don't just tear off the top. Sometimes there's cables that are going into strange places. Take a look. It's kind of hard to see, but this the USB cable routes through the bottom, and it is soldered right onto the board. So we're not going to yank at that, because if we tear it, we're going to have to do some soldering work. And I promised you guys a no solder video. So let's go ahead and just open it up here, and I'm just checking the camera to make sure we can see everything. Okay, let's go over the parts that are inside of this guy. USB cable goes to the main board. This is where all the magic happens. This board at the top here are all the buttons across the top. That's your left trigger, right trigger. It's right here. What is it? L2, R2, start select, the lock for the D-pad selector, and the PS3, PS4, as well as PlayStation home button. These guys are just normal ribbon cables that take this signal, bring it onto the board. This is where the joystick connects, and you can see I've already done a little bit of a wiring job here. So we are just going to take some stuff off. These guys are pretty easy to disconnect, so I'm just going to pull them out of the way. And if you were taking the joystick out, there are just 6 retention screws. As long as you take them up, the whole thing comes off. I'm not going to do that in this video. It's super simple to do. Let's actually do the first part of this modification, which is going to be taking the restrictor gate off. With restrictor gates, there's 4 little tabs. You just kind of got to play with them until you get all 4 of them kind of half ready to go. The thing will just pop off. Okay, here is the Sanwa octagonal. There's only one way it'll go on. There are 2 big clamps sticking out of it for the middle piece. On the back side, you'll see there are, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Yeah, 8 tabs. You want to make sure those 8 tabs correspond with the micro switches. You'll notice that everything lines up perfectly. If you try and put it on the wrong way, you're going to notice that you have nothing to click it into. So let's put it on the right way here. Line everything up, and then just give it a firm push. You'll hear it click. When it clicks, it's good. You can flip over to the other side and check it to make sure the range of movement is good. Not going to talk at all about putting a different spring in or putting a different size actuator in. I'm very happy with the ones I've gotten there. So that is the first part of the mod. Now, while we are in here, let's grab the toolkit again. The way that you tighten ball tops and bat tops is from the bottom. There is a screw head that connects directly to the main shaft. As I spin this, so does that. What we're going to do here is quickly loosen it, and then we're going to give it a nice firm twist to make sure it's properly connected. It's very hard to over tighten those, so I definitely encourage tightening as hard as you can. Now, we get into the magic. These are all the connectors that I have for the buttons that are on here. First thing I'm going to do is just disconnect these. Actually, that's not what I'm going to do. It's a lie. I've lied to you all. We're going to take a look at the wires and see what the wires say. Now on the board, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, beside the wires, it has written D13, 14, 16, 15, 18, 20. that doesn't help us. Aha! On the other side though, it does help us. We've got a legend for what the wires are. So we've got square, circle, triangle, X, R1, R2, and ground, R1, R2. L1, L2. Thought it would have been R1, L1, but hey, what do I know about fighting games? Okay, that's good. So we know, oh sorry, and there's also ground. This is a common ground board. We'll get into that a little bit later. Because those are all listed there, I can just go ahead and disconnect these all. The first time that I did this, I made a big wiring chart, and I can see now that that was a waste of time, not needed. So we're just going to pull these guys up. And you can see that I had to squish these down a little bit to get in. This is a fairly small and low profile case that we're dealing with. So what I'm going to do here, tempted just to keep this wiring harness. There's nothing wrong with it. I'll tell you what, we're going to keep this wiring harness. I'm going to put the new buttons in, and I will show you guys separately how to do some of the wiring, because it would be a shame to cut all this up when we don't have to. So let's throw that aside here. Now we don't need to do anything with the wire for the JLF, the joystick. We just want to pop these buttons out. So every Sanwa button, let me get one of the new ones. Actually, I guess we should decide what color we're doing. Oh, green or black? Yeah, let's go with black. Now, if you don't get your buttons from a place like FocusAttack or Paradise Arcade, that'll be a 5. Oh, that's no good. Well, I'll be. Pause this video for a sec, see if I just lost that one. Okay, missing button as found. It rolled out onto the carpet. So yeah, if you are picking up from a reputable dealer, you're always going to get what's called case fresh buttons. Case fresh buttons come directly from Sanwa in a lined cardboard box so that none of them hit up against each other. Why is that important? Because if you get them out of a bin somewhere, they're going to be hitting each other and they're going to be all scratched up on the surface. You might not care about that whatsoever. It kind of bugs me. Bugs me more because you're buying a new product and it's all scratched up already. So, FocusAttack is really good about that stuff. Let's go ahead and pop all these guys out. And just so we can get this out of the way while we're working on it, we are just going to pull the wiring harness and put it out of the way here. Now on Sanwa buttons, there's going to be 2 little tabs on the side here. I'll tell you what, I will show you a green button, which is easier to see. There's 2 little tabs here. If you just push those in, you can just slide it right out. So I'm going to go ahead and push, and voila, it comes right out. Now again, I'm going to be using those for another project that I will have a video up for as well. I'm going to be taking an old iCade, I'm going to be turning it, hopefully, into a miniature Neo Geo machine. Very excited for that. If all goes well, that will be tomorrow's project while I'm on a staycation. Each of the buttons have a little groove in the side of them. You can just take your screwdriver, put a little bit of pressure, and pop it down. You don't want to push too hard. Those little tabs will break, especially on the cheaper buttons. So if you get like those knockoff ones that you get off eBay, they'll work. They just don't feel that good, and they break pretty easily. Okay, last one's out, and this is what our stick looks like now. Just a shell. Okay, now another question I got. Buttons aren't lining up. That's correct. You have to put these guys in properly. If you look right there, there's a little groove. That groove lines up with the tabs. So what we're going to do here is put this in with grooves that line up. Actually, I'm going to show you what happens when you put them in and they don't line up. Your button will go in, but there's going to be an ever so little gap between the button and the bottom. So we're going to pop this guy out. We're going to line everything up nicely, give it a push, and you should hear a nice firm click on that. I'm going to move these screws so I don't lose them. And we're just going to follow suit with all of the buttons. And another great thing about Sanwa buttons is it doesn't matter which you use for ground or main. They can function either way, unlike hat buttons, which really should be done the proper way. So the only thing I'm going to do here is make sure I put all of these going in the same direction. No reason other than to satisfy my OCD. Actually, let's just take this whole thing out. It's only 2 screws, why not? One screw, 2 screw, 2 screw, 2 screw. And this whole thing peels out of the way. Fantastic. Extra working space. Now there's not much clearance between the JLF connector and this button, but again, I'm not too worried about it. Last button in, nice firm push. Now this case is plastic. It is thicker plastic, but it is plastic nonetheless. What does that mean? Be careful, don't step on it, don't push it too hard. We're going to flip this over though, and we're just going to make sure everything's lined up. I actually quite like that with all black. That's how it came. It came all black. It just didn't have Sanwa buttons in it. Had some really cheap low profile knockoffs. I was not happy about that. Now, another question. I have foam inserts from FocusAttack that silence these buttons a little bit. Here's an example of a silence button. I think I'm going to go ahead and put those in. I think I've got 4. Alright, so the thought here was if we've got the silent stick, we should probably have silent buttons. These little rubber pieces are sold by FocusAttack. They go in between the button layers to create a silenced effect. I've got one in here. I'm going to take it out. To take apart a Sanwa button, just take a screwdriver head, put it in where the tab is, and push up gently. The whole top will pop off, and you can see I've got the silence pad in here. Pretty easy to get them out. I think you can actually peel off the back and adhere these. Don't quote me on that one. But I like to keep them floating because they've never given me a problem floating, and then I can move them around in buttons. Now, to give you a comparison, non-silenced, silenced, non-silenced, non-silenced. Not a huge difference, doesn't change any of the actuation inside of it. You're still going to get pretty definite endpoint, less travel time to get to that endpoint. For fighting games, I've heard these are not recommended because you do get more travel time. You can really mash these down, but I'm going for a nice, high quality, high feeling, quiet stick. So let's go ahead and pop out the last one here. Oop. Okay, we have 6. Yeah, this will mean the next project I'm working on, I will be missing 2 silencers, but those 2 blue buttons are going to be used as the start and select buttons, so not as concerned because you're not going to be using those a ton. Now, you just got all these buttons in. Guess what we're going to do? Take them all out. Now, although you can definitely use these tabs to get things in and out, I would not recommend doing them a ton. Buttons are not really designed, sorry, the tabs are not really designed to go in and out a ton of times. This would all have been easier if Mad Catz had just sent me a free stick so I could show you guys how to do it. That's okay, Mad Catz. I don't expect it. Ah, here we go. I broke a tab. Fantastic. Don't push as hard as I did. I'm going to be a little bit gentler. Did I break another one? I think I did. Today is going swimmingly. Okay. I'll also show you how to deal with broken buttons in a second here. And they're not really broken, they're not going to stand up to rigorous use you would see in a fighting game. So again, we pop the top off. We're just going to take this, we're going to drop it in here. The tabs go along the sides where the actuator sits back in. Put it back together. There's one done. Nothing exciting to talk about right now. Ah yes, here's one with the broken. So when you have one that's broken, you can just kind of nudge it back into place. You don't want to push it too far. If you do, high chance you're going to snap it off in there. It'll hold just fine the way it is. If you snap one off, it's not going to hold that well. Now, when you have one that has a weak side to it, I probably recommend you put that as one of the buttons that you're not going to use very often. Again, if you're doing a lot of fighting games, then, well, you might want to just get a new button for it. If you play a lot of fighting games, I would probably recommend that you have some spare buttons ready to go in case a button ever breaks. I've heard stories of people in tournaments that lose the tournament because either a button breaks, a joystick disconnects, this, that, or the other thing. I've heard some pros that carry around a second stick at all times. It's overkill for me. We're just gonna kind of push that one back into place too. Actually, it looks like I did damage to a lot of these. It's weird. It's very weird. I'm gonna be a little bit more careful putting these in. That's really strange. These are actual Sanwa buttons, or so they claim. Too much talking, not enough focusing. Yeah, focus attack, it's funny. Alright, we're going to pop the tops off here. That one's okay. Because some of these aren't in the best of shape, what I'm going to do is the buttons that I'm going to be using all the time, I'll use the ones that are in really good shape for. And the buttons that aren't going to be used very much will be the ones that don't have the strong sides on them. Come on. There we go. Jeez. I did a number on these. You're gonna have to pay attention when I'm putting these back in. It's like they will be black forever. You don't have to use a screwdriver to do that. Any sort of poking instrument should be just fine. Okay. Okay, so this one was the best one. it's going to be square, because square is used for pretty much everything. I'll line that up, and I'm going to be a little bit more gentle with it. There we go. That one's also in good shape. Make that triangle. Good firm click in there. It's also in good shape. This one I will make X. Good click. This one's not in the best of shape. That will become O. Actually, let's make that R2. I didn't write these down anywhere. I'm just flipping it over because it's gotten it written on the top case. At this point, it doesn't really matter. That one's in okay shape. Last but not least, actually that one feels good too. That'll be O. All right. Or circle. Circle, not O. Circle. Okay, all of these are in now, and nice and silenced. Those buttons are far clickier than these are. Okay. Now we're going to work on putting this whole thing back together. Now, how did I bring this board up? It was like this. Okay. Now, I remember one of the comments I got was, hey, the board is not sitting properly. The reason the board is not sitting properly is because the previous buttons were shallower than these buttons are, which meant that the board had a little bit more clearance. Does it matter? Not in the slightest. You still got lots of room for everything. Oops. Where's mine stuck on? Who knows? There's going to be two pilots. Pilots are little tabs beside the screw holes. I'm just going to line those up. And it should... There we go. 1 and 2. Very, very close. Again, what you're going to notice when you go to put these screws back in is they don't go in all the way. I would not recommend tightening them all the way because you're going to bend the board. Bending the board leads to breaking contacts. Breaking contacts leads to, you guessed it, board's not working. So we're going to gingerly put these in. Now if you really wanted to, you could just put a glob of hot glue underneath. That would definitely hold this guy in place, but then it would be there permanently, and if I ever want to modify this again, I'm not going to be able to. So you want to tighten this just enough so that the board's not bending, but it's not all the way down. That's more than fine. Now, wiring harness. This controller has a common ground. What a common ground means is that all buttons share one ground. Thus, it is common. The joystick has a separate connection here, which has the 4 directions and a ground as well. You're only ever going to find two kinds of boards. Dedicated ground, which means that every button has a lead and a ground that goes somewhere on the board, or you're going to have common ground. So for this one, there are 7 connections on here. A common ground and one for each of the leads of the buttons. Now because I didn't splice this up before, I'm just going to plug it back in, and let's work on the common ground first. Common ground is almost always done as the black wire. As you can see, I've extended it up a little bit, and after this is done, I'll show you guys how to make one of those yourself. And I'm just going to choose the bottom connection of each of these to be the ground. So I'm just going to take it, I'm going to plug them in here. They can be a little temperamental. And there we go. All 6 connected. Now what you want to do is, holding the button in from behind, you're going to give it a firm push. That's going to ensure that it is all the way down. Now that might just be these quick disconnects, because they are not the best in the world. Or that could be how all of them are. I don't know. These are the only ones I've ever really had. Again, I've ordered better ones. Very excited for them. Once you've given them each a firm push, pretty safe to say those are in place. Now, button colors. First time I did this, I looked off of the chart. Now I realize it tells me on the side. So yellow, the first one is R2. I'm going to flip this over. R2 is the bottom button here. Just connect that guy. Give it a nice little push. Next one up is the brown cable. Brown cable is R1. R1 is the one above it. Go ahead and connect that guy. Next to brown we have blue, purple. I'm colorblind, so it's anyone's guess. Oops, and that one is X. X is the first one, actually the bottom first row. Yo. Okay, next one is what looks like green, greenish. Green is triangle. Top row, middle. Next we have white, which is circle. Whoa. Circle is bottom row, middle. And process of elimination would tell me that this one goes in this guy right here, but we're going to check just in case I have miswired something. It says square, we flip that over, it is square, it's good. Feel good about that. Okay, now there is not enough room in this case to have these guys standing upright. So what we're going to do is actually just bend them down. Okay, we're just going to bend these down a little bit here. One thing you want to make sure is that the contacts are never touching. Again, that shouldn't be a problem as long as you're using an insulated connect of some sort. Now, anytime you're bending the contacts on these, don't bend them too much. They will break. You can buy just the little Sanwa actuators. I think they're like $1.25 each, but if you don't have to, save yourself. Okay, so now wire management. Let's do a little bit of proper wire management in there. Not that it really needs it, but I'll show you guys how it's done. Give me a sec, I'll go grab my little twist cables. Better than twist cables, I found zip ties. These were at the dollar store for $3. I got 600 of them. More than I'll ever need. Lots of different colors. Let's use black. Really all I'm going to do here is just kind of group up the main cables. Just put one tie around them. Again, not really concerned about this. If you were building a box that had like a clear top on it, you'd probably want some really nice cable management inside. Okay, now we're just going to kind of tuck these down a little bit. We're going to take our original connectors, connect them back. I'm actually just noticing these are different sizes, so there's no way you'd be able to connect these into the wrong one, which is good. And I'm going to use these cables to hold down the other cables. And really, I'm just going to make sure that nothing is in the way of the actuator for the joystick. And My button connectors already fell off. It's not a good sign. So, what do you do when that happens? We're going to grab these really cheap little needle nose pliers. We're going to go in there. I'm just going to give it a little squeeze. That didn't work either. Okay, we're going to take it off. Give it a little squeeze. What that's going to do is it's going to make the crimp a little bit tighter. Well, that thing just bent backwards on me. That's 2 bends off of it. I wouldn't trust it to do another bend, so I'm just going to attach it facing the other way. Jeez. I think I pushed it a little too much. Okay, well, I did tell you guys everything would go wrong here. What I'm going to do is get a flat tip screwdriver, and I'm just going to stick that in there just to open this guy up a tad. See if I can get it on now. There we go. It's not as tight as I would want it. Just give it a good crimp while it's on there. Yeah, jeez. There we go. That's not going anywhere. Okay. I'm gonna give these a little half tug. See if we got any more culprits. Yeah, we're looking good. Okay. Okay. So that's actually pretty much it for the mod. If we had to do our own cables, I'll actually get into that in a second here. On the bottom part, you just want to make sure the USB cable is seated in its little holster there. We're going to take these two and just put it together like a sandwich. Now, you do not want to screw this together only to find out that a cable managed to wiggle its way underneath the joystick. Let's go ahead and give the joystick a little wobble around, give it a little shake, make sure nothing impedes it. This one's good. So I'm going to flip it over. I am going to put the cap on these ties because I don't want the point flying everywhere. Yeah, let's go ahead and put the screws back in. Again, with plastic, you really don't want to over tighten the screws. Even with metal, you don't want to over tighten the screws, but plastic, you run a very high chance that you're going to tear the plastic thread. The screws are going to be tougher than the plastic is in most cases. With metal on metal, and especially like the metal machined screws, they're going to be able to take a fair bit of pressure before you do any damage to either object, unless you're dealing with like titanium screws and a much weaker metal. So for these guys, finger tight. What does finger tight mean? Finger tight means tighten until it gets tight, and then just give it a little tiny turn. Last one in here. Oops, get in there. Okay, here we have it. Remodded Fightstick. Give each of those buttons a good push just to make sure they're all in there properly. And voila, we're done. 8-way actuator, silent joystick, silent buttons. So a good spot for a FocusAttack sticker on this guy. They apparently don't make these anymore, so try to use them sparingly. Yeah, it's not really a good place for it. I'm going to save it for something else. Okay, Let's get this out of the way. Now, pro tip. Whenever you're done a segment of your project or you're done with the main part of your project, put some of your tools away. Otherwise, you're just going to have endless piles of crap that you can never organize. Okay. Wire. Cutters. Needle nose pliers. Lighter. Don't need a screwdriver. Wire strippers. Disconnects. Let's talk about making connections. Let's just take a length of cable here. Let's take 2 lengths of cable. I'd be very leery to tell anyone to buy pre-done cable. If you buy pre-done cable, you're gonna spend a fair bit of money on it, and really you can do it yourself for next to nothing. You know, unless you're really, really mortified of doing these cables, in which case, hey, if you've got the money, go for it. Just go ahead and separate these two. Okay, so here we have 2 cables. If you ever get a crimped cable like this, just take one end in your needle nose pliers and just pull. You'll straighten that wire right out. Perfect. Do the same thing with the blue one here. And we're ready to go. Now, if you were using an X-Acto knife, you could just very gently cut into the plastic. Try not to cut into the wire. You have to use insulated wire. If you use non-insulated wire, everything's just going to short everything else out. Once you've gone all the way around, take your fingernails. I like to put my fingernails right over where it is. Give it a little pull. It'll come right off. It's a very acceptable way to deal with wires. But if you have one of these guys, you just put it in, and boom, you're done. So you can see, if you're doing a bunch of wires, you're going to save yourself a ton of time. So here are 2 exposed wire ends. And you can see that the wire is all coming apart here. So the first thing we're going to do is take it, hold it, and twist it. The twisting is going to form a much more solid wire. We'll do that on both sides here. Okay, so let's get the white one real quick. Let's say the white one was one that was coming up from the main PCB board. So this is the part that was attached to the board. Let's say it was the blue color, which I think was the circle button, and we wanted to attach it to our own custom cable. What we're going to do is get our heat shrink, and you can do this with electrical tape if you don't have any heat shrink. But I have some heat shrink, so why not? And we don't need all of this piece. This is a pretty long piece. I'm just going to take about a third of it. You're going to take the heat shrink tubing, put it onto the wire first. Even if you have an open end, I still recommend putting it onto the wire first. Form a good habit. That way, if you ever get into a situation, you don't have to uncouple a wire. You're going to put these 2 wires together in a cross. And you're just going to twist. Nice half twists, which is going to braid those 2 wires together. So you're going to be left with a little bit of a triangle. I like to just take that triangle, fold it back against one of the wires, take the heat shrink tubing, make sure it's covering all of the exposed wire, We're going to take our trusty lighter and just a quick pass on the top, quick pass on the bottom, and that's it. You have a very solid little connection. Is this going to stand up to yanking? Absolutely not. Is there any yanking inside of the case? There shouldn't be. Okay, so let's say we want to connect to one of our disconnects here. It's not the right one. Here we go. Normal disconnect. What we're going to do for this, we're going to take our length of wire, we're going to fold over the exposed wire. It's going to do two things. It's going to give more surface area. It's going to make it a little bit easier to connect. So we're going to go ahead and slide the quick disconnect on. And you'll see, maybe you can see. Come on, focus. Nope, not going to focus. You can see that it starts to protrude out of the bottom there. We're going to pull it back so that it's just protruding. We're going to hold it. We're going to take our needle and those pliers here. We're going to put it on. And we're going to give it a firm squeeze. You can see that the wire is nice and stuck in there. Come onto the back side, same thing. Firm squeeze. And that's connected. Man, everything is going wrong today with these. Now this is just happening because these are super cheap ones. I would recommend getting the full insulated ones. You're not going to have that problem with them. If this sort of issue happens, I've found the easiest thing to do is heat it up a little bit with a lighter. It'll go hot. It'll melt back onto itself, and then it's not going to be moving anywhere. Don't do it too much or they actually will catch on fire. That's never fun. Okay, so that's one of them done. That would be, you know, the connection for the X. Let's say we were making a chained ground cable. The way a chained ground cable works is very similar to this, except you would have another wire that runs off of this one. So actually, let's just work from this one. Go ahead and just twist that up, fold that over. Here's our next wire. Twist, fold. Now, actually, before we do that, take our exposed wire. We're going to cross these two together. And then we're going to fold over. Now remember last time we folded this back on itself and put a piece of insulation over it? This time what we're going to do is fold the two wires together. So we've got the exposed end there. We're going to take one of the disconnects. We're going to slide it onto both wires. And we're going to push it until it's just protruding. Take our needle nose pliers and clamp it down. And that's really it. You would just continue that process along until you had 6 of these, so that this wire would be going into the common ground, and then one of each of these will go into the ground terminals. And that's really it. That's all the wiring that needs to happen for that little joystick. And that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them. I try to get back to them as quick as I can. And feel free to check out my next video, which is going to be on making a little Neo Geo cabinet. Alright, thanks a lot. Bye.